Hey everyone, welcome back to the Viteric Health Podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Joanne. And wow, Matt, I have to say, before we even dive into today's topic, I literally just finished lunch and I think I ate it in like 3 minutes flat.
Oh no, Joanne, this perfect timing because today we're talking about mindful eating. So you've just given us a perfect example of what not to do.
Great. So I'm already failing at today's topic. But seriously, folks, if you're like me and you tend to, shovel food into your mouth while scrolling through your phone or rushing between meetings, then this episode is definitely for you.
Absolutely. And mindful eating isn't just some trendy wellness buzzword, right? There's actual science behind it. We're going to explore how the simple act of paying attention to what and how we eat can transform not just our relationship with food, but our overall health too.
Right. And we'll share some practical tips that you can actually implement today. No complicated meditation retreats required. Though, if that's your thing, more power to you.
Exactly. So grab a cup of tea or whatever you're sipping on. Just maybe don't chug it while we're talking, and let's dive in.
So, Matt, let's start with the basics. When we say mindful eating, what exactly are we talking about here? Because I feel like everyone's heard the term, but...
Yeah, it's one of those things that sounds really simple, but it's actually pretty profound when you think about it. Essentially, mindful eating is about bringing your full attention to the experience of eating. It's about being present with your food instead of, eating on autopilot.
Mm-hmm. And let's be honest, how many of us actually do that? I mean, I'm guilty of eating breakfast while checking emails, lunch while working, dinner while watching Netflix.
Oh, absolutely. And that's totally normal in our culture, right? We've become these master multitaskers, but when it comes to eating, that multitasking might actually be working against us.
How so?
Well, think about it this way. When you're distracted while eating, your brain doesn't fully register that you're consuming food. So you might eat more than you actually need because your satiety signals, those I'm full signals, they get kind of dulled out.
Oh, that makes total sense. So it's like your body's trying to tell you something, but you're not listening because you're too busy binge-watching your latest Netflix obsession?
Exactly. Your stomach is like, hey, I'm good down here. But your brain's like, sorry, can't hear you. There's a plot twist happening.
Right. Okay. So beyond just eating the right amount, what are some other benefits of mindful eating? Because I imagine there's more to it than just portion control.
Oh, definitely. One of the big ones is digestion. When you're stressed or distracted while eating, your body is kind of in this fight or flight mode, and digestion isn't really a priority. But when you're relaxed and focused on your meal, your digestive system can actually do its job properly.
Interesting. I never thought about stress affecting digestion like that.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating, actually. There's this whole gut-brain connection that researchers are still learning about. But basically, when you're calm and present while eating, you produce more digestive enzymes, your stomach acid levels are better regulated. It's like giving your digestive system the green light to function optimally.
That's amazing. And what about, okay, this might sound a bit woo-woo, but what about actually enjoying your food more? Like, does mindful eating make food taste better?
No, that's not woo-woo at all. That's one of my favorite benefits to talk about because it's so immediate. When you slow down and really pay attention to what you're eating, the flavors, the textures, the aromas, food literally does taste better.
Really?
Yeah. Think about it. When was the last time you really, truly tasted your food? Like, really experienced it? Most of the time, we're going through the motions, right?
Oh my gosh, you're so right. I can't even remember what I had for lunch yesterday, let alone how it tasted. That's actually kind of sad when you think about it.
It is, but it's also an opportunity because once you start eating mindfully, even simple foods can become these amazing sensory experiences.
Okay, so I'm sold on the benefits, but let's get practical here. How does someone actually start eating mindfully? Because I feel like if I told our listeners, just be mindful, they'd be like, thanks, very helpful.
Right. Okay, so let's start with some really concrete steps. First one, and this might sound obvious, but Put away the distractions. Phone, TV, laptop. Just focus on the food.
Easier said than done, though, right? I mean, some people eat lunch at their desk because they literally don't have time for a proper lunch break.
That's true, and I get that. But even if you can't take a full hour lunch break, maybe you can take 5 minutes to just eat without looking at your screen. Even that small shift can make a difference.
Okay, that feels more doable. What else?
Slow down. And I mean really slow down. Most of us eat way too fast. Try putting your fork down between bites, or if you're eating with your hands, pause between bites.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of people using their non-dominant hand to eat, to naturally slow down. Have you tried that?
Oh, interesting. No, I haven't, but that's actually really clever because it would force you to be more intentional about each bite. I might have to try that.
Let me know how that goes. Okay, what about the actual, what should people be paying attention to while they're eating?
Great question. So start with the basics. Colors, smells, textures. Before you even take a bite, really look at your food. What colors do you see? What does it smell like? And then when you do take a bite, notice the temperature, the texture on your tongue.
It's like being a food critic, but for your own meal.
Exactly. And pay attention to flavors too. Is it sweet, salty, bitter, sour? Are there different flavors that come through as you chew?
This is making me want to go eat something right now just to try this out. But what about, okay, here's something I struggle with. What about emotional eating? Like when you're stressed or sad or even happy, and food becomes more about the emotion than actual hunger.
That's such an important point, Joanne. Mindful eating can actually be really helpful for emotional eating because it helps you pause and check in with yourself. Are you actually hungry? Or are you eating because you're bored, stressed, whatever?
Right, like that whole, am I actually hungry or am I just procrastinating question.
Yes. Or am I hungry, or am I just avoiding this work project I don't want to do?
Okay, you're calling me out here. But seriously, how do you actually tell the difference? Because sometimes I think I'm hungry, but maybe I'm not.
So there's this thing called the hunger scale that some people find helpful. It's basically rating your hunger from 1 to 10, where 1 is absolutely starving and 10 is uncomfortably full. Ideally, you want to eat when you're around a 3 or a 4 and stop when you're around the 6 or 7.
That's interesting. So not waiting until you're absolutely starving, but also not eating until you're stuffed.
Exactly. And here's the thing. It takes about 20 minutes for your brain to register that you're full. So if you're eating quickly, you might overshoot that comfortable fullness level before your brain even realizes what's happening.
20 minutes. That's actually longer than I thought. So slowing down really is crucial.
And this is where mindful eating really shines because you're constantly checking in with your body. How does this bite taste? How does my stomach feel? Am I still enjoying this food? Or am I just eating it because it's there?
You know what's funny is I was talking to my friend about this the other day, and she said she realized she was eating popcorn at the movies even after it stopped tasting good, just because it was there and her hands were used to the motion.
Oh, that's such a perfect example. That's totally mindless eating right there. And movie theater popcorn is it's designed to be eaten mindlessly, you know?
Right? Those huge buckets, they're definitely not encouraging portion awareness. But speaking of portions, does mindful eating naturally lead to eating less, or is that not necessarily the goal?
That's a really good question. And I think it's important to clarify that mindful eating isn't necessarily about eating less. It's about eating appropriately for your body's needs. For some people, that might mean eating less, but for others, it might actually mean eating more.
Interesting. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So some people are actually chronic undereaters. Maybe they skip meals or they don't eat enough because they're busy or they have some complicated relationship with food.
For those people, mindful eating might help them recognize when they actually need more fuel.
That makes sense. It's really about tuning into what your body actually needs rather than following some external rule about how much you should or shouldn't eat.
Exactly. And that's one of the things I love about mindful eating. It's not a diet. There are no forbidden foods, no calorie counting, no complicated rules. It's just about paying attention.
Although, okay, I have to ask about this because I know some people are thinking it. What about foods that are, less healthy? Like, if I'm mindfully eating a donut, does that make it healthy?
I love this question. So no, mindfully eating a donut doesn't magically transform it into a superfood. But here's what might happen. When you eat that donut mindfully, you might find that you're satisfied with just one instead of mindlessly eating 3 or 4.
Ah, so it's about quality over quantity.
Right. And you might also notice how different foods make you feel. Maybe that donut tastes amazing for the first few bites, but then it becomes overly sweet. Or maybe you notice that you feel sluggish afterwards. That's all valuable information.
So it's not about judgment, it's about awareness.
Exactly. No food guilt, no shame, just awareness. And when you have that awareness, you can make choices that align with how you want to feel.
I love that approach. Okay, so we've talked about the what and the why. Let's get into some specific techniques. What are some practical ways people can start practicing mindful eating today?
Okay, so here's one that's really simple. Start with just one meal or even one snack. Don't try to overhaul your entire eating pattern overnight. Maybe choose breakfast or your afternoon snack and commit to eating that one thing mindfully.
Yeah, that feels much more manageable than trying to change everything at once.
And here's another one. Try the first 3 bites rule. For the first 3 bites of any meal, eat slowly and really pay attention. After that, if you want to go back to your normal eating pace, that's fine. But those first 3 bites can help set the tone.
Ooh, I like that. It's like a mindfulness appetizer.
Yes, a mindfulness appetizer. I love that. And here's one more. Try eating one meal a day in silence. No podcast, no music, no conversation. Just you and your food.
That one sounds a bit scary to me, actually. Like, what if I get bored?
And that right there is exactly why it's so valuable. We're so used to constant stimulation that the idea of just sitting with our food feels weird. But boredom isn't dangerous, It's just an experience.
Fair point. And I guess if I'm really focusing on the food, I probably won't be bored anyway.
Exactly. You might be surprised by how much there is to notice when you're really paying attention.
Wow, Matt, this has been such an eye-opening conversation. I'm definitely going to try some of these techniques, starting with, well, probably not eating my dinner in 3 minutes tonight.
That's a good start. And you know what, folks? Even if you try 1 or 2 of these ideas and they don't stick immediately, that's totally okay. Mindful eating is a practice, not a perfection.
Right. And like any skill, it takes time to develop. Don't expect to go from mindless eating to Zen master overnight.
Absolutely. And remember, the goal isn't to eat perfectly. It's just to eat with more awareness. Even small steps in that direction can make a real difference in how you feel, both physically and mentally.
So true. Before we wrap up, Matt, do you have one key takeaway you'd want our listeners to remember from today's episode?
I think it would be this. Your next meal is an opportunity to practice mindfulness. It doesn't matter what you're eating or where you're eating it. You can always choose to be more present with your food.
I love that. My takeaway is be curious, not critical. Approach mindful eating with a sense of exploration rather than judgment.
Perfect. And hey, if you tried some mindful eating techniques this week, we'd love to hear about your experience. You can reach us on social media or through our website.
Yes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. It really helps other people find the show.
Thanks for listening to the Viteric Health Podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Joanne. Until next time, eat well and
eat mindfully.
see you next week.